On a warm summer evening, the tranquility of Blackwater Lake was shattered by a chilling discovery. The body of James Thompson, a well-known local businessman in the small town of Willow Creek, was found floating in the murky waters. James was a beloved figure, known for his generosity and community involvement. The news of his brutal death spread like wildfire through the tight-knit community, leaving behind whispers of disbelief and sorrow. James Thompson was a self-made man, the eldest of 3 siblings, who had worked tirelessly to build his construction business from the ground up. He was a pillar of strength for his family, his wife Emily and their 2 children, Sarah and Michael. Despite his success, James remained humble and grounded, always ready to help those in need. His sudden and senseless death left the town reeling with shock and confusion. As the police delved into the circumstances surrounding James's demise, a web of lies and betrayal began to unravel. The night before his body was discovered, James had been at a charity gala fundraiser at the Lakeside Pavilion. Eyewitnesses reported seeing him in a heated argument with a mysterious figure before storming out in a fit of rage. The tense atmosphere lingered, leaving many attendees unsettled by the unfolding drama. The investigation uncovered revelations about James Thompson that tarnished his once sterling reputation. Rumors of shady business dealings and extramarital affairs cast a shadow over his image, hinting at a life far from perfect. Among the suspects, Marcus Johnson, a rival businessman known for his cutthroat tactics, emerged as a prime candidate with a motive to eliminate his competition. Despite Marcus's vehement claims of innocence, the police unearthed a damning piece of evidence that pointed towards his guilt. Security camera footage from the gala captured Marcus sneaking out of the pavilion shortly after James's outburst, his hands stained with blood. The revelation sent shockwaves through the town, as residents struggled to come to terms with the chilling truth that one of their own could be capable of a heinous crime. Marcus Johnson stood trial for the murder of James Thompson, a media circus that gripped the nation's attention. As the case unfolded, Emily Thompson stood by her husband's side, revealing his inner turmoil and struggles with guilt and shame in the months leading up to his death. The truth that came to light forced the community to confront the darkness that lurked beneath their picturesque facade, forever changing their perception of their once idyllic town. In the end, Marcus Johnson was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole, bringing a sense of closure to the grieving family and the town of Willow Creek. But the scars left by James Thompson's tragic end continued to haunt the community, serving as a chilling reminder of the darkness that could hide within even the most peaceful of places. As the sun set over Blackwater Lake, casting a haunting glow over its tranquil waters, the memory of James's untimely demise lingered on, a story of betrayal and deceit that would never truly be forgotten. The trial of Marcus Johnson for the murder of James Thompson sent shockwaves through the town of Willow Creek. The courtroom was packed with curious onlookers eager to witness the resolution of the chilling case that had gripped their community. Emily Thompson sat in the front row, her eyes filled with a mix of grief and determination as she listened to the prosecution present their case against Marcus. The evidence against Marcus was damning, with witness testimonies and forensic analysis painting a grim picture of his guilt. As the trial progressed, more unsettling discoveries came to light, revealing a web of deceit and betrayal that went deeper than anyone had imagined. Secrets that had been buried for years began to surface, shedding light on the dark underbelly of the small town. One particularly disturbing revelation was the existence of a secret letter written by James Thompson before his death. In the letter, James confessed to his sins and wrongdoings, revealing a side of himself that few had ever seen. The contents of the letter were shocking, painting a picture of a man consumed by guilt and haunted by his past. As Emily read the letter aloud in court, the tension in the room was palpable, with whispers of disbelief and shock rippling through the crowd. As the trial reached its climax, it became clear that there was more at stake than just the question of Marcus's guilt or innocence. The community's faith in its residents had been shattered, leaving behind a sense of unease and mistrust that lingered in the air. The once close-knit town now stood divided, with rumors and accusations tearing apart the fabric of their society. In the end, Marcus Johnson was found guilty of James Thompson's murder, sentenced to life in prison without parole. The verdict brought a sense of closure to the grieving family and the town, but the scars left by the tragic events would not easily fade. As Emily stood outside the courthouse, staring up at the darkening sky, she knew that the road to healing would be long and difficult. The sun set over Blackwater Lake, casting a haunting glow over its tranquil waters as the memory of James Thompson's untimely demise lingered on. The town of Willow Creek would never be the same again, forever marked by the shadow of betrayal and deceit that had darkened their once peaceful community. And as the last light faded from the sky, a sense of foreboding hung in the air, hinting at the unsettling mysteries that still lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. As the days passed after the trial, the town of Willow Creek was enveloped in a sense of unease and paranoia. The once friendly neighbors now regarded each other with suspicion, wondering who else might be harboring dark secrets. Emily Thompson felt the weight of this tension pressing down on her shoulders as she tried to navigate the aftermath of her husband's murder. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more to the story, more secrets waiting to be unearthed. One evening, as Emily walked along the shores of Blackwater Lake, she noticed a figure standing at the edge of the water. It was Marcus Johnson, the man convicted of her husband's murder. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she approached him, unsure of what to say. Marcus turned to face her, his eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and regret. "I didn't do it, Emily," he whispered, his voice barely above a hoarse whisper. Emily felt a surge of conflicting emotions, anger, doubt, and a flicker of compassion. Could it be possible that Marcus was innocent, that there was someone else behind James' death? Before she could respond, a dark shadow passed overhead, blocking out the moonlight. Emily looked up to see a flock of crows circling overhead, their cawing filling the night with an eerie symphony. A chill ran down her spine as she felt a sense of foreboding settle over the lake. "Emily, you need to be careful," Marcus said urgently, his eyes wide with fear. "There are darker forces at work here than you realize." Emily's heart raced as she tried to make sense of Marcus' words. Before she could question him further, a sudden gust of wind swept across the lake, causing the water to churn and froth. Emily stumbled back, her pulse quickening with a sense of impending danger. As Emily went about her daily routine, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something lurking in the shadows, something sinister and unseen. As she walked through town, she noticed the wary glances of her neighbors, their eyes filled with a mix of suspicion and fear. Emily decided to pay a visit to Marcus in prison, determined to get to the bottom of the mystery surrounding her husband's death. As she sat across from him in the cold, sterile visiting room, Marcus looked at her with haunted eyes. "There's something you need to know, Emily," Marcus began, his voice low and urgent. "James was involved in dark things that go far deeper than anyone realizes." Emily's mind raced as she tried to process Marcus' words. What could James have been involved in that would lead to his untimely demise? What secrets had he been hiding from her all these years? The more she thought about it, the more a sense of dread settled in her stomach. As Emily left the prison, a feeling of unease gnawed at her. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something sinister at play in Willow Creek, something that had been hidden in the shadows for far too long. And as she drove back to her empty home, the sense of isolation and vulnerability weighed heavily on her mind. That night, a storm raged outside, the wind howling through the trees and the rain pounding against the windows. Emily tossed and turned in bed, her mind consumed with thoughts of James and the dark secrets he had kept from her. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the house, jolting Emily awake. Heart pounding, Emily got out of bed and made her way downstairs, her hands trembling as she reached for a flashlight. As she descended into the darkened hallway, a sense of dread settled over her like a heavy shroud. The storm outside seemed to match the turmoil brewing inside her mind. As Emily reached the living room, she froze in shock. The room was in disarray, furniture overturned and belongings scattered across the floor. And standing in the center of the chaos was a shadowy figure, their features shrouded in darkness. Fear gripped Emily's heart as she shone the flashlight towards the intruder. The beam of light revealed a face she never expected to see, a face she thought she had left behind in the past. It was James Thompson, her dead husband, standing before her with a chilling smile on his lips. "Emily, my dear Emily," James whispered, his voice sending shivers down her spine. "You never could escape your sins, could you?" Emily's mind reeled in disbelief. How was this possible? James was dead. She had attended his funeral. She had mourned his loss. And yet, here he stood, a specter from her past come back to haunt her. You can't be real," Emily stammered, her voice trembling with fear. "You're dead." James laughed, a hollow, mocking sound that reverberated through the room like a curse. "Oh, I'm very real, Emily, and I've come back to claim what's mine." Before Emily could react, James lunged towards her, his eyes filled with a malevolent gleam. She screamed as his cold, ghostly hands closed around her throat, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Darkness engulfed her vision as she struggled against his grasp, the world spinning out of control. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the room fell silent. Emily opened her eyes to find herself alone in the empty living room, the storm outside still raging on. She clutched her throat, gasping for air, her heart pounding in her chest. Was it all a dream? A hallucination brought on by grief and guilt? Or was there something more sinister at play in Willow Creek, something that defied rational explanation? As the first light of dawn began to filter through the windows, Emily knew that she had to unravel the mystery surrounding James' death once and for all. She couldn't shake the feeling that there were dark forces at work in the town, forces that were determined to silence the truth at any cost. Determined to uncover the secrets that lay buried in the shadows, Emily set out to investigate James' past, following a trail of clues that led her deeper into the heart of darkness that lurked beneath the surface of Willow Creek. And as she delved deeper into the twisted web of lies and deceit that had ensnared her husband, she realized that the danger she faced was far greater than she had ever imagined. The town of Willow Creek was a powder keg waiting to explode, tensions running high and dark secrets bubbling to the surface. And as Emily drew closer to the truth, she knew that the final revelation would rock the town to its core, unleashing a storm of chaos and destruction that would change their lives forever. As Emily delved deeper into the secrets hidden in the shadows of Willow Creek, she uncovered a tangled web of deceit and betrayal that stretched far beyond her worst nightmares. The more she learned, the more she realized that the darkness that had enveloped her husband's life was only a small piece of a much larger puzzle. One evening, as Emily sifted through James' old files in their attic, she came across a stack of letters hidden in a dusty old chest. The letters were addressed to James, written in a delicate hand that sent a shiver down her spine. As she read through them, her blood ran cold. The letters spoke of a secret society that James had been a part of, a group that delved into the darkest corners of the human psyche in search of power and immortality. The more Emily read, the more she realized that James had been involved in things far more sinister than she could have ever imagined. Determined to uncover the truth, Emily set out to find the members of this secret society, following leads that took her to the outskirts of town where an old, abandoned mansion stood like a sentinel in the night. As she approached the decrepit building, a sense of dread washed over her. She knew that whatever secrets lay hidden within those walls were more terrifying than anything she had faced before. As she stepped through the creaking door, the air inside the mansion was thick with the smell of decay and the weight of centuries of dark deeds. Shadows danced on the walls, whispering secrets that chilled Emily to the core. And then, she heard a voice, cold and mocking, coming from the shadows. Well, look who's come to visit us," the voice hissed, sending a shiver down Emily's spine. She turned to see a figure emerging from the darkness, a tall, cloaked figure with eyes that gleamed with malice. "Who are you?" Emily demanded, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and defiance. The figure chuckled darkly. "We are the keepers of the dark, the guardians of the secrets that lie beyond the veil of reality. And you, my dear, have stumbled into a world that you were never meant to see." As the figure stepped closer, Emily could see the light glinting off a blade in their hand. Panic surged through her as she realized the danger she was in. She had walked into a trap, one that threatened to consume her whole. But just as the figure raised the blade, a sudden crash echoed through the mansion, causing the walls to tremble and dust to rain down from the ceiling. Emily seized the opportunity and ran, her heart pounding in her chest as she fled through the labyrinthine corridors of the mansion. Each turn seemed to lead her deeper into the heart of darkness, the shadows closing in around her like suffocating tendrils. She could hear the footsteps of her pursuers behind her, their voices echoing in the darkness like the whispers of the damned. And then, just as she thought she would be swallowed whole by the darkness, Emily stumbled into a chamber that seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. The walls were lined with ancient symbols that seemed to writhe and twist in the dim light, sending a chill down her spine. In the center of the room stood a figure, cloaked in darkness, their features obscured by a hood. Emily's breath caught in her throat as she realized who it was: James, her dead husband, his eyes cold and calculating. "Welcome, Emily," James said, his voice echoing in the chamber like a curse. "I see you've stumbled upon our little gathering. I must say, I'm impressed. Not many have the courage to seek us out." Emily's mind reeled as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. James was supposed to be dead, buried in the cold earth of the cemetery. And yet, here he stood before her, a twisted version of the man she had once loved. What is this place?" Emily demanded, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and anger. James chuckled darkly. "This, my dear, is where we have gathered for centuries to unlock the secrets of the universe, to tap into the power that lies beyond the boundaries of mortal understanding. And you, Emily, are about to become a part of something far greater than yourself." As James raised his hand, a surge of energy crackled in the air, sending sparks dancing around the chamber. Emily felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the true extent of the darkness that had consumed her husband. But before James could utter another word, a blinding light filled the chamber, forcing him to shield his eyes. Emily turned to see a figure standing in the doorway, their form outlined in a halo of golden light. It was Marcus Johnson, the man convicted of her husband's murder, his eyes blazing with a fierce determination. He stepped into the chamber, his presence seeming to dispel the darkness that had clung to the walls. "Leave her alone, James," Marcus said, his voice strong and unwavering. "You have no power over her anymore." James hissed in anger, his eyes flashing with a malevolent light. "You cannot stop me, Marcus. You are but a pawn in this game, a mere mortal whose time is running out." Marcus stood his ground, his gaze never wavering. "I may be a mortal, but I have something you will never understand: the power of love and the strength of truth. Emily deserves to know the truth, to see you for what you truly are." With a howl of rage, James lunged at Marcus, the blade in his hand flashing in the dim light. Emily cried out, fear and desperation twisting in her heart as the two figures clashed in a whirlwind of darkness and light. The chamber seemed to shake with the intensity of their struggle, the ancient symbols on the walls glowing with an otherworldly light. Emily could feel the energy crackling in the air, a sense of impending doom settling over her like a heavy shroud. And then, with a final burst of energy, Marcus managed to disarm James, sending the blade clattering to the ground. James staggered back, his eyes wide with disbelief, as Marcus stood tall before him, a beacon of light in the darkness. "It's over, James," Marcus said, his voice filled with a fierce resolve. "Your reign of terror ends here." With a cry of defeat, James vanished into the shadows, his form dissolving like mist in the wind. The chamber fell silent, the walls no longer pulsing with dark energy. Marcus turned to Emily, his eyes soft with compassion. "It's time to face the truth, Emily," Marcus said gently, reaching out to take her hand. "There are things in this world that defy explanation, that challenge our understanding of reality. But we must have faith in the light that shines within us, the light of truth and love." As Emily looked into Marcus' eyes, a sense of calm washed over her, the fear and doubt that had plagued her melting away like snow in the sun. She knew that the road ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but she also knew that she was not alone in this fight. Together, Emily and Marcus stepped out of the chamber into the light of a new day dawning over Willow Creek. The town was wrapped in a blanket of silence, the shadows receding in the face of the rising sun. But Emily knew that the darkness that had gripped the town would not be so easily banished. There were still secrets waiting to be unearthed, still mysteries waiting to be solved. And as she looked out over the tranquil streets of Willow Creek, she knew that the battle for truth and justice was far from over. As the first light of dawn bathed the town in a golden glow, Emily felt a sense of resolve settle over her heart. The shadows may still linger in the corners, but she was determined to face them head-on, to shine a light on the darkness that had plagued her husband's life. And with Marcus by her side, she knew that she had a partner in this fight, a beacon of light in the ever-encroaching darkness. Together, they would unravel the mysteries that lay hidden in the shadows of Willow Creek, no matter the cost. As they walked into the new day, hand in hand, the echoes of their footsteps seemed to carry a promise of truth, of justice, and of a future free from the shadows of the past. And as the town slowly woke from its uneasy slumber, the sense of foreboding that had gripped Willow Creek began to lift, replaced by a glimmer of hope that shone like a beacon in the night. As Emily and Marcus ventured out of the dark chamber into the fresh light of the new day dawning over Willow Creek, they could feel a sense of relief washing over them. The shadows that had haunted them for so long seemed to be retreating in the face of the rising sun, and the town itself appeared to be awakening from its ominous slumber. As they walked through the tranquil streets, Emily couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions swirling inside her. The events of the previous night had been nothing short of a nightmare, but now, with Marcus by her side, she felt a sense of courage and determination growing within her. She knew that there were still answers waiting to be uncovered, but she also knew that she was not alone in this quest for truth. The townspeople, who had been unaware of the darkness that had permeated their community, watched in curiosity as Emily and Marcus passed by. There was a hint of uncertainty in their eyes, as if they could sense that something profound had occurred under the cover of night. But Emily paid them no mind, her focus fixed on the path ahead. As they reached the center of town, Emily could see the old police station looming in the distance. It was there that she and Marcus had first crossed paths, their lives forever altered by the secrets that lurked beneath the surface of Willow Creek. She felt a pang of sadness as she thought of all that had transpired, but she also felt a glimmer of hope that justice would prevail in the end. As they entered the police station, the officers on duty greeted them with a mixture of surprise and relief. They had been worried about Emily's safety, knowing that she had walked into a dangerous situation without their knowledge. But as Emily recounted the events of the previous night, they listened intently, their expressions growing more and more grave as she spoke. "We had no idea, Emily," one of the officers said, shaking his head in disbelief. "To think that such darkness was lurking right under our noses. It's unsettling, to say the least." Emily nodded, her gaze steady. "But we cannot let fear and uncertainty cloud our judgment. We must stand together and face the truth, no matter how chilling it may be." The officers exchanged glances, their resolve hardening. They knew that Emily was right. The time for complacency was over. It was time to uncover the secrets that had been hidden for so long and bring justice to those who had sought to manipulate and deceive. Together, Emily, Marcus, and the officers set out to investigate the mysteries that still lingered in the wake of the previous night's events. They combed through old files, pieced together fragments of information, and followed leads that took them to the farthest reaches of Willow Creek. As they delved deeper into the shadows, they uncovered a web of deceit and betrayal that stretched far beyond what they had ever imagined. The secret society that James had been a part of was just the tip of the iceberg, a small piece of a much larger puzzle that led them down a twisted path of corruption and malevolence. But with each revelation, Emily felt a sense of liberation growing inside her. The darkness that had once clouded her husband's life was beginning to lift, replaced by a fierce determination to seek justice and expose the truth. And with Marcus by her side, she knew that she was not alone in this fight. As days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, Emily and Marcus worked tirelessly to unravel the mysteries that lay hidden in the shadows of Willow Creek. They faced obstacles and challenges at every turn, but their bond grew stronger with each passing day, a beacon of light in the ever-present darkness. And then, one fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and cast long shadows across the town, Emily received a letter. It was addressed to her, written in a familiar hand that sent a shiver down her spine. As she read through the words on the page, her heart pounded in her chest, for the letter contained a revelation that would change everything. The letter spoke of a long-lost truth, a secret that had been buried for generations. It told of a prophecy that foretold of a chosen one, a woman of strength and courage who would rise up to face the darkness and bring light back to the world. And as Emily read the words, she knew in her heart that she was the one destined to fulfill that prophecy. With a newfound sense of purpose burning inside her, Emily gathered Marcus and the officers at the old mansion on the outskirts of town. The mansion, once a place of dread and despair, now stood as a symbol of hope and redemption. It was there that Emily knew she would face her final challenge, confront the darkness that still lingered in the shadows. As they entered the mansion, the air was thick with anticipation. The ancient symbols on the walls seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, guiding Emily toward the heart of the chamber where James had once stood, a twisted figure consumed by darkness. But as they reached the chamber, there was no sign of James. Instead, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman cloaked in a shimmering light, her eyes filled with wisdom and kindness. "Welcome, Emily," the woman said, her voice soft yet commanding. "I am Luna, the keeper of the light, the guardian of the truth that lies beyond the darkness. You have been chosen to carry the light within you, to bring hope and redemption to the world." Emily's heart swelled with a mix of awe and disbelief. She had never imagined that she would be chosen for such a task, to be the one to bring light back to a world consumed by shadows. But as she looked into Luna's eyes, she felt a sense of peace settle over her, a deep knowing that she was ready for whatever lay ahead. Together, Emily, Marcus, and Luna stood at the heart of the chamber, their spirits intertwined in a bond that transcended time and space. And as they raised their hands to the sky, a blinding light filled the room, banishing the darkness that had plagued Willow Creek for far too long. The town itself seemed to tremble as the light spread, washing over the streets and alleys, dispelling the shadows and revealing the beauty that had been hidden from view. The townspeople emerged from their homes, their faces alight with wonder and joy as they witnessed the transformation that was taking place before their very eyes. As the light continued to shine, Emily felt a sense of peace settle over her heart. The darkness that had once threatened to consume her had now been vanquished, replaced by a sense of hope and renewal that filled her with a profound sense of purpose. And as she looked out over the newly illuminated town of Willow Creek, she knew that her journey was coming to an end. The shadows had been banished, the truth had been revealed, and justice had been served. The town was reborn, its streets filled with the laughter and joy of its inhabitants once more. But as Emily turned to Marcus and Luna, a bittersweet smile tugging at the corners of her lips, she knew that their story was far from over. There were still mysteries waiting to be unraveled, still challenges waiting to be faced. But with the bonds of friendship and love that connected them, she knew that they would face whatever came their way, together. And so, as the light continued to shine over Willow Creek, filling the town with a sense of peace and hope, Emily took Marcus' hand in hers and turned to face the new day dawning before them. The echoes of their journey lingered in the air, a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of love to conquer even the darkest of shadows. As they walked into the sunrise, the promise of a future filled with light and possibilities stretched out before them. And as the town of Willow Creek settled into a new era of peace and prosperity, Emily knew that she had found her place in the world, as a beacon of light in the ever-encroaching darkness, the light continued to shine over Willow Creek, illuminating the town in a soft, ethereal glow. The shadows that had once clung to every corner and crevice had been banished, chased away by the pure, unyielding brightness that filled the streets. The townspeople, once plagued by fear and uncertainty, now walked with their heads held high, their eyes filled with a newfound sense of hope and determination. As Emily, Marcus, and Luna stood at the heart of the chamber, basking in the radiance of the light that surrounded them, a sense of peace settled over the room. The air was charged with a quiet energy, a palpable shift in the very fabric of reality that hinted at the profound transformation that had taken place. Luna turned to Emily, her eyes ablaze with wisdom and compassion. "You have done what few could ever dream of, Emily. You have brought light to a world consumed by darkness, and in doing so, you have fulfilled a prophecy that has been whispered through the ages." Emily looked at Luna, her heart full to bursting with emotions she could scarcely name. "I couldn't have done it without Marcus by my side, without your guidance and support. We are forever grateful for all that you have done for us." Luna smiled, a gentle, knowing smile that seemed to reach into the very depths of Emily's soul. "The strength and courage you have shown in the face of darkness are a testament to the power that lies within you. You have proven yourself to be a true warrior of the light, a beacon of hope in a world that so often succumbs to shadow." With those words, Luna's form began to shimmer and fade, the light that surrounded her coalescing into a shimmering orb that floated gracefully into the air. "My time here is done, but remember, Emily, that the light will always be with you. It will guide you through the darkest of nights and lead you to the dawn of a new day." And with that, Luna vanished, leaving Emily, Marcus, and the officers standing in the chamber, a profound sense of stillness settling over the room. They stood in silence for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts and feelings, before Marcus turned to Emily, his eyes shining with pride and admiration. "We did it, Emily," he said softly, his voice filled with wonder. "We faced the darkness head-on and emerged victorious. I couldn't be prouder of you." Emily smiled, her heart swelling with love for the man who had stood by her side through it all. "And I couldn't have done it without you, Marcus. You are my rock, my guiding light in a world that so often feels uncertain and chaotic." With a shared glance and a nod of understanding, Emily and Marcus turned to the officers who had accompanied them on this journey. "It's time to bring this chapter to a close," Emily said, her voice steady and resolute. "We must ensure that the darkness that once plagued Willow Creek never returns." The officers nodded in agreement, a sense of purpose shining in their eyes. Together, they made their way out of the chamber, the light that surrounded them casting long, distorted shadows on the walls as they walked through the corridors of the old mansion. As they emerged into the cool night air, the streets of Willow Creek seemed to whisper with the echoes of the past. The townspeople had gathered in the square, their faces upturned toward the heavens, their expressions a mix of awe and gratitude. Emily took a deep breath, the cool night air filling her lungs as she looked out over the town she had come to call home. The echoes of their journey lingered in the air, a haunting reminder of the trials and tribulations they had faced together. But even as a sense of closure settled over the town, a lingering unease remained, a faint whisper of doubt that danced on the edge of Emily's consciousness. The mysteries that had once haunted Willow Creek had been laid to rest, but she knew that not all questions had been answered, not all secrets had been revealed. And as she turned to Marcus, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her features. He caught her gaze and squeezed her hand, a silent message of reassurance passing between them. They both knew that their journey was far from over, that there were still shadows waiting to be confronted, still truths waiting to be uncovered. But for now, in this moment of quiet revelation, they stood together as the light spread throughout the town, casting a soft, comforting glow over the once ominous streets of Willow Creek. As the night drew to a close and the first light of dawn began to paint the sky in hues of pink and gold, Emily and Marcus walked hand in hand through the awakening town. The townspeople watched them pass, their faces filled with a mixture of awe and gratitude, their eyes shining with newfound hope and belief. And as they reached the edge of town, where the fields stretched out into the distance and the first rays of sunlight danced on the horizon, Emily paused and turned to Marcus, a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "We've come a long way, Marcus," she said, her voice soft yet filled with determination. "But I know that our journey is far from over. There are still mysteries waiting to be unraveled, still challenges waiting to be faced. But with you by my side, I know that we can overcome whatever obstacles come our way." Marcus gazed into Emily's eyes, his own filled with a fierce determination and unwavering love. "Together, we can face anything, Emily. The light that burns within you will guide us through the darkest of shadows, and I will always be here to walk by your side." And as they turned to face the new day dawning before them, the echoes of their journey lingering in the air, a sense of peace settled over them. The haunting atmosphere of Willow Creek had been replaced by a newfound sense of hope and renewal, a promise of a future filled with light and possibility. As they walked into the sunrise, the town of Willow Creek settling into a new era of peace and prosperity, Emily and Marcus knew that their story was far from over. There were still mysteries waiting to be unraveled, still challenges waiting to be faced. But with the bonds of friendship and love that connected them, they knew that they would face whatever came their way, together. And so, as the first light of dawn bathed the town in its gentle embrace, Emily and Marcus walked hand in hand into the future, their hearts filled with hope and their souls ablaze with the light that had banished the shadows from Willow Creek. And as they disappeared from view, leaving behind the town and the memories of their journey, a sense of peace settled over Willow Creek, a peace that would linger for years to come. A reminder of the light that had conquered the darkness and the hope that had triumphed over despair. As the first light of dawn bathed the town in its gentle embrace, Emily and Marcus walked hand in hand into the future, their hearts filled with hope and their souls ablaze with the light that had banished the shadows from Willow Creek. And as they disappeared from view, leaving behind the town and the memories of their journey, a sense of peace settled over Willow Creek, a peace that would linger for years to come. A reminder of the light that had conquered the darkness and the hope that had triumphed over despair. But as the town basked in the newfound peace and tranquility, a chilling reflection lingered in the air. The events that had unfolded, the secrets that had been unearthed, and the darkness that had been confronted were a stark reminder of the fragile balance between light and shadow, good and evil. The town of Willow Creek had been forever changed by the harrowing journey that unfolded before its very eyes, a tale of betrayal, deceit, and redemption that would echo through the corridors of time. And so, as the sun continued its ascent in the sky, casting long, eerie shadows over the now serene town, a sense of foreboding lingered in the air. The echoes of the past whispered through the streets, a reminder that beneath the surface of the picturesque facade of Willow Creek, there lay hidden depths of darkness and mystery, waiting to be uncovered. But what about you, dear reader? What secrets do you think still lurk in the shadows of Willow Creek? Do you believe in the power of light to conquer the darkness, or do you think that some shadows are destined to remain forever hidden? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below, and let's unravel the mysteries together. The truth may be more chilling than we can ever imagine,